So I grew up in central Kentucky, and the majority of my family does not speak any other languages. In fact, I would say that most of them don't speak anything, certainly not well enough to communicate with anyone. And in central Kentucky there wasn't a lot of Hispanic population, there wasn't a whole lot of diversity. So I had an incredible Spanish professor in my high school. She was from Puerto Rico and she was hilarious. She was super crazy and just really had a passion for teaching Spanish, and it just kind of ignited some of the passions that I had for learning Spanish and from some of the exposure that I had gotten to the community before that. So just taught it very, very well, and very much with the idea that it was something to be used to communicate with other people. And so it wasn't just a class, but it was a way to be able to interact with even more people than just English would have been able to provide me. I went to Costa Rica on a mission trip. The most recent time was actually this summer, right before coming to Duke. I worked with a missions organization for 6 weeks. One of the main roles that I had was as a translator. So our trip leader didn't speak any Spanish, and the pastor of the church we were working with didn't speak any English. So some of it was logistics, some of it was more of the day-to-day workings. And then the pastor actually asked me several Sundays to translate the sermon for him, which was very nerve-wracking, but was an interesting experience and definitely gave me, I would say, a richer experience in Costa Rica than some of the other people on my team who didn't speak any Spanish. And it definitely was just being able to interact with the people in the community, some of the people that we came across in the cities, was a very, very different experience than it would have been if I only spoke English. Well, I had the opportunity through a Spanish teacher that I have here to volunteer with the Durham Community Health Assessment, and we went and met up with the program coordinator and sent us to a specific neighborhood where we were going to be doing surveys, and they do it in Spanish in order to make sure that they're representing the Latino community. And there's a little community, every single house in the community only spoke Spanish, that there wouldn't have been anyone in the household that would have been able to do the survey in English for us. And so it was a really interesting look for me into what Durham is and the communities that are in Durham that I would never have seen if I were only here at Duke. And so it was very interesting just to see how language very dramatically, I would say, isolated some of those people who didn't know about some of the resources that were available. I want to be a doctor, and part of what I think that means is that you're going to be interacting with a lot of people, as patients or as friends or in a lot of different capacities. And I think that what Spanish for me has been able to do is to open those doors into other people's lives, of just being able to have that interaction that, especially as a doctor, is very, very important, to be able to have those interactions with a patient, to make them feel comfortable, to allow them to speak to you. And I think that a lot of times having a translator can break that connection. So for me, language is definitely a way to directly interact with people that without that language you might not be able to.